Welcome to Podnutz Daily, episode number 304. The show where we bring computer repair technicians on the show to help you guys with your computer repair questions. Mainly your questions, I guess you could say. I guess you all have questions. Come to Podnutz Daily and learn about computer repair. If you're a tech, if you're a hobbyist, enthusiast, it's what we like to do here. We always have somebody awesome on the show, and today is no different. You guys may have heard of Carrie Holzman from Computer America, and he is our guest today. Hey, Carrie.
Hey, Steve. How you doing?
Doing great. You guys may know Carrie from Computer America. It's a nationally syndicated radio show about computers. Longest running, right, Carrie?
Yeah, we're in our 20th consecutive year on the radio.
That's pretty awesome. You guys still having fun doing it?
Yeah, you know, I always try and find guests to make the show interesting for me, and I hope that makes it interesting for the audience. You know, I try and bring guests on that I genuinely want to talk to, guys like Richard Stallman of the GNU Project and the Free Software Foundation. And going to have Mark Russinovich on. You're familiar with Mark Russinovich of the
Sure.
Sysinternals?
Yeah, he's coming on?
Yeah, he's coming on Monday's show. He'll be on.
Awesome.
And when he's done, I'm bringing on an hour or two a free remote software called Mikogo or Mikogo,
Yes.
M-I-K-O-G-O.
They've gotten a lot of attention on our show. People brought them up all the time. Door Geek likes them.
They're in Germany or something. They have to call me. They're out of the country. In Computer America, we can only call our guests in the U.S. And we've been starting to bring people on through Skype now, but still a lot of people, a lot of these like CEOs and business types, it's too technical for them. They just say, you know what, I'll just pick up the phone and call you, which is fine. That's fine. And I've been trying to get Mark Russinovich on the show since like 2006, and he keeps saying I'm too busy. And he wrote this book. It's a novel. It's not a computer how-to book like you'd expect from Mark Russinovich. It's a thriller about the state of computer security in the future being the way terrorists attack the U.S. and Europe by a combined attack. And since everything's controlled by computers, and that's heading to that trend where, you know, the gas pedal on your car is nothing more than a potentiometer. It's no longer a cable attached to your speedometer.
Right.
Like with these Toyotas that are running out of control. Airplanes theoretically could have throttles that are exactly fly-by-wire where the pilots have no actual physical cable control, that the computer controls everything, and then they update the firmware with a virus-infected firmware, and planes are dropping out of the sky. Big cargo ships with oil can't steer, and they run into piers and bays, and he just creates the scenario of utter chaos and large companies losing their databases, backups being bad, BIOS being infected, so the systems won't even turn on.
Wow.
Wall Street going down, and just effectively crippling the U.S. and Europe, and doing so in such a way that the people who create it remain fairly anonymous, and the cost is fairly minimal to create these viruses, and the state of software and security is at such a point that he's painting this really ugly picture of what could be if companies continue to have such a lax attitude towards security. I mean, I just got an email. I've got 3 emails so far about my email being some database that my email was in from Best Buy and from 1-800-Flowers and Citibank, I think.
Yeah,
saying,
I got the Best Buy one.
I haven't talked to anybody who hasn't gotten one of these. So if they know you're a client from Best Buy and they've got your email now, they can target a phishing attack right towards you and say, oh, your Best Buy account's out of, needs your password updated.
Totally.
Instead of just sending random ones and hoping that, well, maybe he has a Bank West account. And half of the people are going, what's a Bank West? And obviously that's fake.
But Carrie, Best Buy assured me they're very sorry about this and doing everything possible to keep my privacy and my security.
Yeah, I'm sure they're sincere about that too.
Yeah,
it's genuine.
I trust them.
And so you should.
No, it's an interesting way that Russinovich is putting his what he thinks out there and as a fiction novel.
Yeah, and just to have a fiction novel written by a nerd, by a guy who understands how viruses work and knows the inner workings of Windows, has a certain believability to it because of his background, not as a novelist, but as a software writer and as someone who really understands how Windows works. The book is called 0 Day. It's available, now.
That sounds pretty cool.
And yeah, I'm giving away the copy they sent to me in a contest at Computer America. And what was that? The name of that company that got hacked? It's called Epsilon, which is the firm each of these companies use to manage their email communication with customers. So this includes Capital One, JP Morgan, Brookstone, Best Buy, TiVo, Walgreens, Kroger.
Damn.
I mean, the list of this is absolutely, 1-800-Flowers, A-Books, Air Miles, Ameriprise, Barclays, Beachbody, Bebe, Best Buy Canada, Reward Zone, Brookstone, Charter Communications, Crucial, Dell Australia, Disney Destinations, Eddie Bauer. And there's a list of these 58 companies: Walgreens, Verizon, U.S. Bank, Target. It goes on and on. They all use this one company, this Epsilon. I never even heard of Epsilon.
I know. I don't think you ever hear of these companies that do this kind of thing. Plus,
they must have been making bank.
I wonder how many companies this has happened to where they never told us. I mean, at least I guess they're seriously trying to cover their ass by telling us about that our emails got hacked or whatever. But I bet it happens all the time with other companies we sign up for, and the companies never just say anything about it.
Well, I talk to people about, let's say, remote access, or not even remote access. I talk to people about storing their backups with an online service, putting the important stuff out in the cloud, and there's always at least one hand in the audience that raises their hand. I do these presentations, these computer clubs around, and they go, well, yeah, but how safe is it? How safe is it to have my personal stuff out there in the cloud? And I usually ask them, well, are you making backups now? And the answer is usually no. But
Right.
if it is yes, then the follow-up question is, do you encrypt those backups you make? And then they often go, well, what's that mean? And then that means the answer is no.
Right.
So when you're putting it up on the cloud, it's actually safer than the way you're doing it yourself. So I find the question almost a bit offensive. But they go, well, every once in a while. Well, yeah, it's like, well, is it safe? Well, if I broke into your house and took your drive that you do your backups on now, can I just access everything?
Right.
Yeah. Well, then it's safer than the way you're doing it. And if you're not doing it at all, you'd rather nobody have it.
Right. It's a good point.
Than a possibility of somebody. And then the second thing I go, and not to be rude, but who the hell are you? And why should I care what your stuff is? If you're a public figure, you're a celebrity, or you're in the government, I understand why you might be targeted, but why would anybody target Gary Holzman? Who's he? What do we care how much money he's got in the bank? What is that? Why?
People think they're very important.
Yes, I'm very important. and then when you combine the fact that you're in with, with a service like Carbonite, Mozy, you're in with hundreds of thousands of other people's data all encrypted. What are the odds that you're going to have a random attack?
I agree.
Versus what are the odds of having a virus infected? And then I finally go, look, let me ask you a question. Do you bank online? And it doesn't even matter if you do or you don't, because even if you don't, your bank information is still out there online. So what's more important than your money? And that's apparently safe online. So if it's safe enough for your bank, don't you think it's safe enough for your pictures of your trip?
Right.
Or your QuickBooks file? I mean, your QuickBooks file is only going to have the stuff that's in your bank anyway, right? And the stuff for the bank's already there. You just have to log into your bank and see it.
That's very rational. You're dealing with somebody who's a little too paranoid. That's just not going to go into their head at all.
Well, sometimes it's worth being paranoid, but the point I try and make at the end of the day is, look, you can do everything right. You can be sure to not sign your credit cards and instead write CID, forcing people to ask you for your ID instead of just signing the back of your credit card.
Right.
You can be sure that you watch where the guy goes with your credit card, making sure he doesn't make a copy of it, that you see the entire transaction, you don't take your eyes off of it. You can do everything right. You can have 14 long character passwords. You can have all your backups and be safe and secure. And then a company you do business with, be it your bank, your credit card company, like Capital One, is hacked, or a service they use, like Epsilon, gets hacked. And even though you did everything right, partial information of that belongs to you was released by the company that you do business with, because they had improper security. So it's helpless. I mean, there's just nothing you can do at that point.
Right.
You're just never going to do business with anybody ever again.
Right.
So even if you do all the right things, there's just no guarantees in life that you become exempt or immune from having your identity stolen.
It's
There's
true.
just too many vectors and ways hackers get in.
I mean, so that's why I really don't worry about it as much as one would think. I mean, of course, I'm not completely reckless, but I don't worry about it. It's not
Exactly. I'm not saying, well, why bother at all?
Right.
I'm simply saying, don't fool yourself.
Right.
You know, you can go through TSA. Does that really convince you that there's no one with a bomb just because? What do they call that? Security theater.
Right. Exactly.
Makes you feel good. You know, until the guy puts something in his shoe. Well, now we got to check for shoes. Until the guy does something else. I mean, it's just, that doesn't mean that you just get rid of it altogether. It just means that
it's not a guarantee.
100% guarantee.
Right.
It's just a precautionary step. And as backing your data up, a precautionary step, and just staying on top of things is a precautionary step. But know that you can't just say, "Well, check that off my list. I will never be affected by these issues."
Right.
Because as long as you're doing business with bank and other businesses,
anything.
And as long, you know, even TJ Maxx a couple of years ago got broken into. All the customer data, credit cards was all taken. Why? Yeah. Because they had a wireless with WEP encryption, and they never upgraded it. The companies just don't take security seriously. Most of them don't.
Yeah.
Geez, you know, I had a client the other day, and they said, the computer's typing on its own, and she can't get her work done. She's a CPA. And I said, well, I've done a lot of work in all the years of computers, and I've never heard of a computer that types on its own. Maybe it's a bad print job, and it's sending, you know, is it readable text? Is it just garbage? Oh, it's just garbage. I've never heard of that before. Well, now 2 weeks later, they call me and go, we got another computer doing it now. What's to prevent this from happening again? I said, geez, I don't even know what it is. I've looked at the computer over the course of about 4 days and 13 combined hours, and I've never seen it do this symptom. I'm not suggesting you're making it up, but I don't even know in my mind what it could possibly be. I don't know what to say. I said, but I'll tell you what, we have a spare computer, and it's all ready to go, and if we want, we can just move that spare computer over to this other employee that's having this problem, her desk. And as long as she doesn't have any data saved on her computer, you know, it's ready to go and she can get back to work. You know, it's getting to be crunch time for these CPAs. April 18th is almost here.
Yeah.
And so they say, great, would you do that? And I said, yeah, well, you can just do it if you want. They're like 30 miles from my house. So if you want it done right now, just go pick the computer up, go plug it in, create the user account to match the name and password that she's currently using on the server, and map her drives, and she's good to go, assuming she doesn't have any data saved on the local hard drive. So later that night, the guy who owns the company calls me and says, you know, we're having these problems. I said, yeah, you know, I talked to your secretary. We addressed all this. You know, all you have to do is move the computer. Well, I don't want my people doing that. Will you do it? And I said, absolutely, I'll do it. I just figured you'd get it done quicker if you guys want, but you know what? That's what I'm here for. I just want to make sure she doesn't have any data on her computer, and if she does, we need to move it off. She shouldn't, because the computers aren't getting backed up. Only the servers are getting backed up. He goes, well, let you talk to her, because his eyes glaze over the minute I say anything remotely technical. He's a CPA. He owns the business. He's got other things. So that's what
he pays you for. Right.
So he puts me on the phone with this woman they've hired, and I've never talked to her before. And I said, hi, my name's Kerry. I'm the computer guy. And explain the situation. I go, so what I need to know is if you have any files on your hard drive. And she says, well, look, how would I know that? I said, well, when you create things, where do you save them? Wherever they go. I go, what do you mean wherever they go? She goes, well, if I'm in Lacert and I'm doing a customer's application, I just hit save. So all my stuff should be there. I go, well, is that the only program you use? Well, no, I use Word, Excel, ATV, yada, yada. And I go, so for every one of these programs, you just go file and save, and it just goes where it goes. Well, I'm not a computer technician. I'm an accountant. No. I mean, you drive a car, you park it in the parking lot, you throw me the keys, you go, here, fix my car. I go, where is it? And you go, it's out there in the parking lot. And I go, where in the parking lot? You go, I don't know. I'm not a mechanic. And then she gets offended. And I go, look, it's obviously a training issue. You should at least know where your data is. I go, what if you inadvertently just altered or she says, why wouldn't my data be, when I hit save, in the default location of wherever that is? I said, well, what if you inadvertently change that location? Well, how would I do that? I said, you're asking me how you would inadvertently and unknowingly change your save location? I don't know how you would do that, but people do it all. I've had enough of it. And she hung up the phone on me. So I thought that was interesting. I'm surprised that they hired somebody who uses these programs.
Are you serious? This surprises you? This surprises you That people don't know what folder their stuff is going into? Come on.
If you're an accountant and all of this is now computerized, I don't think it's much to know file structure. I mean, if you were doing it, look, no, I'm saying to anybody, if you're an accountant, let's look at accountants, and you were doing this before computers, you would have my paper, and my paper would go into a folder, and that folder would go in a filing cabinet somewhere. You wouldn't just put it in a stack. You wouldn't just go, well, I just put it over here to my left, and then somebody takes them. I don't know where they go after that.
If it's as easy as pressing a save button, maybe you would. I mean, pressing a save button is very easy. I agree with you. I mean, she should know. She should know exactly which folder she. So I said, okay, let me. Before she hung up on me, I said, well, here's my question, and I said, I didn't call you to argue with you. I called to help you. All I need to know is, if we move this computer over, and there is a program that you realize you need and you can't find the data, will you be better off or worse off than if we just keep the computer you have now? And she couldn't get it through her head that this is not her problem. Where she creates the data and where it goes after that is not her responsibility. And I'm telling her, I go, do you think I have a magic wand that I can sift through 750,000 files on your server to find one file in an emergency because you have an appointment, you've got the client right there? Is that how you think this works? I just think it's common courtesy, and it should be a requirement of the company doing the hiring going, do you know computers? Because we use them here. And I don't mean you have to know how to fix them. I mean, do you know basic computer function, file, save as? Do you understand folders? Because if you're going to be doing this business, you need to know this stuff, because we're paying you to create content. And if you can't find the content you've created, then what have we paid you for? Do we have to pay somebody else to find the content you've created? That's going to cost us more money. Yeah.
So I don't understand why they hired this person, or why this person thinks that they can use the individual programs, Word, Excel, Lacert is in the example I'm giving, but to choose file and save as becomes technical. You understand what I'm saying?
You've been doing this a long time. This can't be the first time you ran into something like that.
And then to justify their ignorance, to justify it, instead of saying, you know, I really should learn how to do that. Could we set something up? Instead, it's like, that's below me. You know, that's like sweeping or something. You hire people for that. That's not what I do. It offended me as though I'm the lowly computer technician.
Oh, that's why it offended you.
And she can step on my back and wipe her feet on my back, and I can clean up after her.
Carrie, they're paying you to do that. They're paying you.
No, they're not. No,
they're not. No, not by the hour. If you went out there and did that job,
I'm a retainer to keep their systems up and running. So it's up to me to make sure that their systems are optimized and maintained, so that I don't have to go down there. If I don't have to go down there, they don't have downtime. If they don't have downtime, they're happy to write me the check for the retainer.
Do you still have those guys, or did they get mad at you for that job?
This just happened yesterday. So I sent an email to the boss, because he wasn't answering his phone after that. And I'm sure she stormed into the boss's office and screamed and yelled what a jerk I am. And I left a voicemail for him and said, "We've got a personnel problem here, and I don't know how to proceed.
Oh man,
I don't know. Should I replace her computer and then end up, potentially having an issue with lost files?
Yeah.
Or maybe there's no issue at all, and all the files are exactly like she thinks, and she learns nothing from this and continues this terrible habit, and thinks she doesn't need to be educated. Or should we, make some time to do some basic training? I mean, I don't do that, but I'll make an exception.
She's going to hate you. She wouldn't let you train her after that.
I wouldn't want to. I don't do training, but the simple file structure. I mean, I just don't know how to proceed. Let me know. And then he says, well, I'm on my way out the office. I send him an email and I copy the secretary on it, because the secretary is the one she's the go-to person in the office. Anytime there's a problem, she gets a hold of me and we work on it together. And, or she'll tell me what the problem is, and I'll tell her I'll be in on Tuesday, and, Wednesday will come, and I'll be like, I'll send her an email. I was there. I did this. Let me know if the problem exists. The boss rarely gets involved in it. I copied her on it to let her know that there's a problem between me and this other employee, and the work that I said I was going to do didn't get done because the employee's not cooperating. And
are you serious? I gotta stop you here, man. You don't think that there's a better way to handle this as far as your customer service to them? Instead, you basically blamed somebody for their ignorance of not knowing how to save things to a folder. You really expect 100 people to know that much?
I can see how it can be seen that way.
Yeah.
What I'm trying to do is prevent a bad problem from becoming a worse problem. So if she's got a computer that's quote unquote typing on its own, something I've never seen before, and now I've come to realize she knows nothing about computers, then I start putting one and one together, and I think whatever's causing this problem may be her. So if I give her another computer, what's to say that's whatever causing this is going to continue, and all we're doing is spinning our wheels, wasting time.
I would probably say it was her too.
Also, what if I'm right? What if she's hitting file and save, and some of those files are on her local computer?
Right.
And so I come in, do what I said I was going to do before I talked to her, and just let the dice roll. Right. Now all of a sudden, whose emergency is that going to be?
Right. No, I got you there.
It's going to be mine, right?
I got you there.
Whose fault is it going to be?
I'm just thinking there might have been a smoother way into this.
Well, if she was, look, I didn't do anything any differently with her than I do with anybody else. And in fact, we've done this with other employees. And it's just a standard practice. I go, look, before I replace your computer, before I rebuild an image on your computer, I need to know, is there anything on your computer? Because once I erase it, everything's going to be gone. Mm-hmm. Or do I need to come in and make an image of it before I replace the image of it? In which case, that's going to be 6 hours.
And then they go, what's an image?
6 hours. Well, they don't need to know what the image is. But what I'm saying is, what you're asking me to do is a 3-day job if you don't know the answer to my question. And I back it up. I'm not going to wait there for the backup to take place. I'm going to go down there. I'm going to start the backup. I'm going to come back. I'm going to restore the backup. And then when the backup is restored, I'm going to come back again, and I'm going to put your files back on and set it up with you as the user. And then it should be good to go. So if I started on Friday, I should have it done by Sunday. It should be ready for you on Monday. On the other hand, if you tell me, no, there's nothing on this computer, because if they say, yes, there is something on this computer, then my next question is, why? Do you realize if your hard drive dies, you'll lose it forever? That's why we have the server. So let's take care of this before there's an emergency. Let's, before the disaster strikes, let's use this as our opportunity to move this stuff off to the server so that it'll get backed up on a regular basis. And if your hard drive fails, or you come into the office one day and your computer's missing, that your files are safe and secure on the server, which is backed up. Even if the building catches fire, I've got copies off site of all the files on the server. Yeah. So let's use this as our opportunity, as a fire drill, to get those things off of the individual computer. And
it sounds like they definitely needed to be educated.
So when usually the employees go, no, I just have this, or there's some items on my desktop and they're very private, and I prefer them on my desktop, and I back them up myself. I go, great, no problem. This is the only time that a customers are. Now, a residential customer, I could expect this from. Okay, but this is an office with about 20 employees, and I've at some occasion have talked to probably 13 of the 20. This is the first time I talked to this one. They brought some extra employees on during tax season. I think this is what they brought on extra. Hopefully she's, as far as I'm concerned, either not going to stick around or is going to have an attitude change where she's going to be more willing.
Change towards you. That's funny. Like, is she like a horrible, mean person? Because I would have a problem in my business if somebody hung up on me, and I didn't handle it as good as I don't know. I would have a problem if my customers hang up on me. I consider that like red flag. Problem here. Is this person evil, or did I screw up? And I
don't believe anybody's evil. I just don't think that's possible. It's just attitudes.
Right. I don't know, man.
I think every time I hang up the phone with a client, and it doesn't happen very often, because otherwise I'd be in a different career.
Right. No, I'm not saying that this happens often,
but yeah, of course I hung up the phone and said, how could I have handled that? I'm questioning the whole thing going on. How did this go so horribly wrong? And I like to use analogies, and people will say, well, you're being condescending. Okay, well, then let's move your DMA and your IRQ off to another PCI channel. well, now you're being a jerk, because now you're like, are you better than me?
Oh, man.
So somehow there you got to strike a balance, and with each individual, it's different. And, there was a joke about a lady who was a kindergarten teacher or first grade teacher, and she just didn't know how to talk to adults anymore. It was a comedian, and she mentioned that she used to be a teacher, and they were having a house party, and she's like, hi, Bob, and what would you like to drink? A 7 and 7? Oh, and 7 and 7 is what? 14. That's right, Bob. Because she's so used to dealing. Now, if I'm going to Joe residential customer's house to fix Joe residential customer's computer, and I go, look, before I take your computer and we rebuild it, do you have backups? Well, I don't know what's a backup. I say, well, look, I'll tell you what, I'll make an image of the machine, and anything that's important. In the computer world, we like to use different words. I don't know why. It's just copies. Do you have copies of the stuff that's important? Duplicates? Hard copies? Printouts? Well, no, those are my pictures. I don't have any other. They're not located anyplace else, if that's what you're asking me. Yeah, that's what I'm at. If you don't have copies. So you realize all hard drives fail, and there's other ways that data can be lost: fires, thefts, floods, viruses, accidental deletions. There's a song from the 70s, Paul Simon, 50 Ways to Leave Your Lover. There's at least 50 ways to lose your data. And whatever way it is, I guarantee it'll be something you didn't expect. That's the one thing people who lose data all have in common.
This is true. So
if this data is important to you, let's work on getting a backup, and I'll offer them some suggestions. And in the meantime, I'll go ahead and I'll back it up in my office, temporarily to, use a Cronus, make an image of the machine, rebuild it if I need to rebuild it, restore my documents directory and everything else. That's acceptable for a residential client. That's what I get paid to do. For a business client, that's not what I'm paid to do. For a business client, I'm paid to maintain the machines. I'm not paid to train the personnel. I'm not sometimes the personnel will call me. How do I do a different font in Word? How do I add up a row in Excel? Look, that's not, first of all, I don't know the answer to how to add up a word. I don't use Excel. But further, what concerns me is, did you put on your resume, and I wouldn't ask this, but I'm thinking it, did you put on your resume before you got this job, you knew how to use Excel, and now you're using it, and now you think, I'm going to call the computer guy to help me out? Right.
I see where you're coming from in that viewpoint. Yeah, you're not there to train business employees.
I don't have the patience for it.
I'm not big on training myself. A lot of people came into my shop asking, can you teach me how to use a computer? I'll pay you. And I go, I don't think it's a good idea.
Yeah, because what ends up happening, and anybody who's ever worked technical support will agree with me, it's a very difficult job.
Yeah.
Because what will happen is you got somebody on the phone, the customer, who's already pissed off. They're already frustrated. They're upset. And maybe they've even had to wait on hold before they talk to you, which just is fueling their fire. So the first thing out of their mouth, hi, this is Kerry. Thank you for calling technical support. How can I help you today? I've been on hold for 45 minutes. Yeah, okay, I understand. I apologize for getting to all our calls as quickly as I can. And the sooner we can get to your problem, the sooner we can help the next problem, next person on hold. So what can I do for you today?
Oh, they don't care about the next person on hold.
And it's like,
I wouldn't.
And then if they keep talking, it's like, well, do you want to sit here and talk about being on hold, or do you want to call and talk to me about your problem? So it's then you get to the problem, and you'll be like, well, do you have it plugged in? Well, of course I have it plugged in. What kind of question is that? Well, I have to ask the question. I can't assume anything. I mean, well, you think I'm some kind of idiot? Well, in order for me to go through, and then all of a sudden, the patience of the technical support person, everybody's got a breaking point where you finally have enough. And you just get to a point where, I want to put you on hold, sir. I'm going to put you on hold. And you keep trying to cool down until you get to a point. And it's ironic that all you're trying to do is help. And you'll see this happen in help forums where someone will say, can anybody help me how to solve this problem? And someone will say, post back, yeah, do this. And someone else will post, that's a dangerous and stupid fix, and you shouldn't be doing it that way. And someone else will post, yeah, well, you're both dumb because this isn't the way to, you're both jeopardizing the customer's data by doing that. And you should be making a backup first. And then the thread will go on for 99 messages of these guys insulting each other. And there was never a response in any of those 99 messages
to the original question.
Poster, and the original poster gets lost in the argument. And all 98 responses all had one thing in common. They wanted to help. And somehow that gets lost over pride.
Right.
If this lady's pride was hurt because and let's make this clear, because I made her feel stupid, nobody can make you feel inferior without your consent. You understand? I can't make you feel stupid. If you have an insecurity, that's not my problem. Am I intimidating? That's not my problem. Did I threaten you? Did I just come right up to you and say, I'm going to hurt you? Well, no, it's just your attitude. You the way you come off. Oh, so I should correct that because you have that problem. Because you have the problem, I need to make the correction. Right? It's like asking a girl to dance and she says no. Well, why did she say no? Because I'm not tall enough? Because I'm not her type? Well, maybe I should change. I should become taller. Right? So I feel bad. I go, oh, I got rejected. I feel so bad. She rejected me. Maybe she rejected you for a reason that's beyond your control and doesn't make any sense to anybody but her. Why should you beat yourself up over that?
Right.
There's so much psychology involved.
I know, but I think that somebody should use as a yardstick if they keep getting that response to, if they're trying to help somebody and they think they're a great technical support guy, and people keep telling them, I don't like your attitude. Like all these customers keep telling, well, then the guy, if he's going to continue to think his attitude's perfectly fine, he's just not going to be in business long. He does need to make a change or find something else to do, because if he wants to keep that attitude, it's just not going to work in that field. So,
and that would be the exception. But what I'm saying is, no matter what attitude you have, you're always going to have those customers. There's just some people you're just never going to please, and there's some people that are you're always going to run into them.
I know, but I think there's a much higher percentage of people that are, understanding, have patience than, the 20% who don't.
Well, here's the way I look at it. I love helping people. I really do. And what really does it for me is the thank you more than the check. That sense of appreciation is what motivates me. When I'm trying to help somebody and they bite at me, I walk away. You know what? I'm not the one who needs the help. So you can just sit there and lay in your filth.
I agree with you on that.
I offered you a hand up. My hand wasn't good enough for some reason. You were offended in the manner in which I offered it. Lay there. I'm not the one laying in the mud. I'm not the one who needs the help. And a lot of people think, well, geez, Gary, who do you think you are? People should have to bow down to you. I mean, actually, I had somebody say that to me. I said, I never said that. Well, that's the way it's coming off. Do you think you should wear a cape and people should bow down? And it's interesting how people hear what you don't say. They read in between the lines. They read insinuation and don't hear what you did say.
Well, I think a lot of times it's not what you say, it's what you do that really communicates to people. So.
But I like to think I'm a people person. I like to think that I get along great with all my customers. I'm very understanding. I think I do a good job of using common analogies for explaining technical things in a way that anybody can easily understand. Take something they already know and apply it to computers and say it's just like this.
If you're not getting a lot of people telling you otherwise, then sure.
Well, no, but when it happens this once and it happens this drastically, it affects me. I mean, I'm still, obviously you can tell I'm affected by it even today. This happened yesterday, and that's how sensitive of a person I am. It still bothers me today.
Are you going to think you're going to endanger losing that customer?
I don't believe I am. There's really two people that are important to keep happy in that office, and one's the owner and one's the owner's daughter who works for him. And the owner made it clear to me, as long as you keep his daughter happy, and he said that she's difficult to keep happy. I haven't had any problems. I don't think she's difficult at all. I've had other techs tell me, oh, don't deal with this client over here. I won't even deal with them. And I've had no issues. I'm like, these are very pleasant people, and I enjoy them.
Really?
So sometimes they're just personality conflicts.
Right, that's probably what it is.
You go to the dog park with your dog, and for some reason, your dog and this other dog start fighting. Right? It's not because you said attack or the other guy told his dog attack. It just happened. There's just something there that we can't see or sense.
Exactly. Personality conflicts.
And I think that's what happened with me and this other person. Now, I think this other person is only there for tax season. I think she's going to be gone after that. I think that I need to make the owner aware of the liability that she is. I need him to know that if she doesn't understand what she's doing, she could wipe everything out.
I think I agree with you that they definitely need to be educated for that.
And that when you're hiring somebody, maybe, you might want to ask them if they understand the basics of how to save a file in a proper place, because that's important when you've got 1,000 clients and 20 employees, and other employees need to work on the same client. You need to have that. You need to be considerate of your coworkers to agree that we're going to put these files here and those files there, and not think that, well, I can do whatever the heck I want to, and the computer tech can go clean up. He can go find my files. That's not my job.
I meant to ask you in the very beginning when you brought this up. Did you ever find out why the computer was typing on its own?
I got an email today from the secretary who I CC'd on the email to the boss, and it always worries me when I get an email like this. And it says, I need to get with the boss on how he would like to proceed, and also we figured out that magic typing problem.
What was it, stuck keyboard or something?
That's all she said.
Oh, okay.
And so I wrote her back and said, well, could you please tell me what the fix was for the magic typing problem? I'd really like to know. And I haven't heard back yet. So when somebody says, oh, don't worry about it, we fixed it ourselves, kind of wonder, my brain goes, well, maybe they hired somebody else to fix it.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But, they've done this before to me where they had a problem and they said, don't worry, we fixed it. We basically essentially said, we got tired of waiting for you and we did it ourselves. And then I thought, well, that's the end of that.
But they told you again.
No, it was exactly honest. And I've got so many projects with them. There's a stack of computer cases behind me. Yeah. Going up to the ceiling. That's all for them.
Wow.
And I can't do them in the middle of tax season. I can't interrupt them. I need to wait till after tax season. So we've got a number of other projects going on that are much bigger than this little isolated.
Right. Yeah. So you're invested.
But yeah,
They're
am I
invested in
concerned
you.
about it? Of course, I'm concerned about it. Do I
Yeah.
want to have an enemy or a conflict with somebody? Of course not.
No, and I didn't. And I hope I didn't insinuate that you did want to get
but I'm
involved like
saying
that.
I want to be everybody's friend, but you can't be. You just at some point you got to realize there's just some people you can't be friends with. There's some people that
This is true.
that even if you went out of your way to do everything they asked you to do, at some point you'd be resentful that they're just not returning or showing appreciation for the efforts you're making to make that relationship work.
Right.
And I've just learned enough in my life to just know when to walk away. When she hung up on me, I think it's one of the worst things you can do to me. It's one of the worst things anybody can ever do to me is hang up on me. It's just rude.
She might have thought the worst thing that could happen to her is to be insulted by you. I'm just playing devil's advocate here.
You're right. But the whole point of this was all I was trying to do was tell her that it's her responsibility, not mine. And all she was trying to do was justify why it wasn't. She was justifying her ignorance. And I was getting upset, and she was getting upset that I was telling her that your justification is unacceptable. Her justification was, I'm not a computer tech.
Gotcha.
And that's unacceptable. She had no desire to learn, and she didn't even care. Where all that effort that all the files and data that she was inputting, where it goes after she inputs it, don't care. And that bugs me.
Yeah, well, no, it should. And I know you show concern for the owner, but I hope that works out, that whole situation.
Yeah,
but,
I hope so too. He's an important client. But these are things that, when you talk about bringing text on the show and talking about experiences, you hear a lot about the technical problems, but there's a lot of personnel, people problems. Well, not a lot, but I'm saying they happen. And I think that's as important to discuss.
Oh, yeah,
because
it's huge.
If you ask me, Carrie, how do I fix this problem with my printer not printing? I can give you an answer. But if you say, how do you fix this not getting along with this person? I'm not sure how to answer that. There's emotion, and there are other things at stake.
It's
but
a
it's
big
a legitimate problem in the business that you either fix it or you lose the client.
Right. That I agree with. And especially if you're a one-man show, communication with your customers, it's half your hat, So do you want to talk more about that, or do you have anything else you want to bring up? Or
I think I've beaten that horse. I just wanted to just mention that, as an example, and then it was fresh on my mind.
Yeah. Let's go over some other stuff if you want.
Yeah, well, again, listening to some shows, I know I was listening to Tim Story was talking about wanting to fix framework issues. And so I was listening to that. And there's this great tool by Microsoft MVP. It's called the .NET Framework Removal Tool. You can't go into add remove programs and remove the .NET framework, and you've got to use like the Microsoft Cleanup Installer utility. Anyway, he's got this little batch executable file you download, and it's kind of like a batch file, and it runs and it actually removes all of the frameworks. And then when that's done, you can reboot the computer, and then you can go back to Windows Update and re-download your frameworks and then all the service packs for those frameworks.
What's the name of it? What's the name of it? I'll pull up the screen.
It's the .NET Framework Removal Tool, and you might put the letters MVP. It's from a Microsoft MVP that wrote it, and I keep it on my flash drive. It's portable utility. You don't have to install it. You just run it right off the flash drive if you want, or copy it to the computer and run it, and that'll fix the problems 9 times out of 10.
Huh.
And the 10th time, that one it won't fix. It's going to be a different fix every time. So I don't have any advice there. And I'm actually working on my neighbor's laptop that just can't get Service Pack 1.1 on one of the frameworks. And I've already tried this and it didn't work. And it takes so long to re-download and reinstall all those frameworks to find out it didn't work. It's a little frustrating.
Right.
But I'm still working on it. And so I share his frustration. And the customer doesn't even have it. I've just said, look, we'll deal with this another time. And they don't have any noticeable difference or issues with the computer. So the .NET framework only really matters when you have an application that requires it. It's like Java, the .NET framework. It's just a programming language that like if you have ATI video card, the ATI drivers will tell you it needs like .NET framework 2.0 or greater installed for the control panel to work, or for the ATI control panel to work. So some developers are using the .NET framework to develop their applications. If you don't have the .NET framework, they'll often offer it during the install.
Right.
Me, I like to see a computer have all these updates, whether they need them or not, just in case they need them in the future. I don't get a phone call. And I don't like to see anything not working, whether the client's using it or not. I like to look through the event log, make sure those errors are taken care of. Even if they have no knowing effect on the customer, it's not right. So a little OCD there. As my sister's boss said, he's not OCD. He's
thorough.
He's what did he say? He's not OCD. He's CDO because he's alphabetized it.
That's pretty awesome. No, it sounds like you're just being thorough. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, thorough. Yeah, that's my middle name. You know, when I talk to people about, they say, well, can you remove this virus? I go, well, I don't just remove a virus. I'm going to take your computer. I'm going to bring it back to my place. But you can't do it here. No, I'm going to take it back to my place. I'm going to open the cover up. I'm going to blow all the dust and dirt out of it. I'm going to check and make sure all your cooling fans are turning and turning fast enough. I'm going to delete all your temp files. I'm going to probably have to pull your hard drive out of your computer in order to remove the virus. And that means having your computer at my office. Pull the hard drive out, put it into a USB dock, scan it for viruses that way. Once it cleans it that way, then I can put it back in your computer, reboot it, then do an internal clean, because sometimes trying to remove these viruses from the computer that's infected is like trying to change a flat tire on a car that's in motion. It can be next to impossible, depending on the virus or the malware.
Right.
Some are very easy, some are more difficult. After I do that, I'm going to go through Windows updates. And once I do that, I'm going to look at your msconfig, remove items from startup. After I do that, I'm going to see if I can't find any empty folders and just delete those and get rid of them. Glary Utilities has a great little empty folder search. There's a debate over how much room does an empty folder really take up. But if you've got 200 of them on your hard drive, why bother having them? Will it break any programs? Well, usually if a program needs a folder and it doesn't find it, it'll typically recreate that folder. I emailed you about Temp File Cleaner, which goes through every single user account and deletes even those hidden IE folders from the user accounts that have, like you can run through Internet Explorer and hit delete all the files, and it'll say, okay, I've deleted all your internet cache. And then you look in your user folder and you turn on hidden files and folders and you see this little hidden IE directory, and you open it up and there could be gigs and gigs of stuff in there. So this little tiny application, tfc.exe, Temp File Cleaner, by a guy who calls himself Old Timer, it actually shuts everything off in the background and it deletes that entire directory, just deletes all of it. But it keeps your cookies and you don't lose your logins and stuff like that.
What's the site for tfc.exe?
I think if you just Google tfc.exe space Old Timer, it takes your first link.
There it is.
Great little utility. Again, I put that on my flash drive. It cleaned up at the CPA's office. They don't have a lot of the software they use. So that's why images have to be made of computers, because they've got 8 different versions of QuickBooks and 8 different versions because they have to use whatever version their client has. So over the years, they've built up a lot of temp files. And I just had a hunch this one computer's, its image was far too big for the stuff it had on it. And it must have been temp files. But things like CCleaner and Glary said they were clean. So I ran Temp File Cleaner, and it ran and ran and ran. 17.2 gigs it cleared off. Now, that's normally not what I see. I usually see anywhere from 200 megs to 2 gigs.
And you use CCleaner and Glary?
Typically, we'll use one or the other. They tend to be a bit redundant.
Not a lot of our guys talk about Glary. Do you want to say anything else about that?
Well, Glary Utilities is available free from glarysoft.com, and they've got, just like CCleaner, there's that little hidden link that says other builds where you can get the slim version that has no toolbar or the portable version, and I think the portable version is great. It's got a registry cleaner, which is a little more thorough than CCleaners. Registry cleaners I think are a bad idea for Windows Vista or Windows 7 because parts of the registry are virtualized, and Microsoft is not open source, right? So what's going on in there and why is never disclosed. So these companies are kind of guessing what to remove, and they're going from past experience from what they've learned. So if you or your client's running Windows Vista or Windows 7, I suggest do not clean the registry. The registry's handled in a different way, and it probably won't make any difference at all in the performance of the computer. And if it's uninstall information you're looking to get rid of, then just use like Revo Uninstaller. They have a portable version of that. I always thought it was ironic to install an uninstaller. So anyway, so there's a portable version of Revo, and it'll clean anytime you're uninstalling. Use that.
I like Revo.
Glary, yeah, Revo's great, and Glary's got an uninstaller too, but it's a little different. Sometimes, like if you have an item that won't uninstall, you're just like, you know what, I'm just want it out of my list. I don't want to see it. Glary will just remove that. Well, so will Revo. But this is all part of Glary has an empty folder finder, so you can find all those empty folders, select check all, and delete all, and it'll delete all these empty folders off of your computer, clean it up. There is a registry defragmenter, which I think is pretty cool. After you've cleaned the registry in XP, The databases, if for those who don't know, databases never shrink in size; they only get bigger. The registry is a database. The only way to make it smaller is to rewrite it. What ends up happening, any information, if you picture like a Jenga game, so you've got all the blocks.
Right.
Say that's your registry, and you've removed some of the blocks, so that you've got these gaping holes. They'll always be like that unless you rebuild the registry, or what they call defragment the registry, where it just basically reassembles the blocks again into a shorter registry. Does it make some of these analogies are better than others? So.
No, it makes sense.
Does it make sense? Okay.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's what registry defragmentation does, ultimately resulting in a smaller, tighter, leaner registry. Nothing's ever going to make your computer as fast and as lean. I won't say as fast. Nothing's going to make your computer as efficient and as lean as a clean install. It just you can get close with some of these registry cleaners. And again, I'm focusing on XP here. I want you to remember when you think about running that registry cleaner on Vista or 7, remember parts of that registry are virtualized, and also remember that Windows is a closed source system. So these registry cleaner manufacturers are just sort of guessing and going from past experience, like I already said.
Right.
Just want you to remember that before you think twice about it. And then if that doesn't convince you, type in, registry cleaner broke Vista, broke 7, and just sift through all of the problems people list, including with CCleaner, including, with Glary, with known, good, reputable utilities breaking specific applications or pieces of the applications in those operating systems. So just want to be clear about it.
Sure.
And in XP, XP's been out, like 11 years or whatever. So there's a lot has been learned in 11 years. And so for that reason, it's pretty rare that I find a registry cleaner that causes any problems anymore. Even, PC Tools, Registry Mechanic, System Mechanic does a great job. System Mechanic, you can download System Mechanic for 30 days, free, fully working. And despite the fact they're a sponsor of Computer America, just forget that, because I'm not making any money if you buy it or you don't. You can use that, and it will do a different kind of, I'm not a fan of defragmenting, because it really doesn't do much nowadays. But
Right.
System Mechanic does something different.
What?
It looks at the files that you're using. You may not even realize you're using them, files that Windows is using, and it defragments them and then moves them to a faster part of the drive. They call it a program acceleration tool. And it's effectively an intelligent defrag that's not just defragmenting files randomly. Like, well, I defragment that one and put it over here. I'll defragment it. Oh, there, now it's better because it's deep. Well, not necessarily. It's not
looks at recently used files, or?
Well, it's looking at how often a file is accessed and moving the files that are accessed most often to faster parts of the drive.
That's pretty awesome.
And closer to each other. So in other words, if it, as I understand it, if it notices every time this DLL launches, this one launches, it puts them both close together. So the drive doesn't have to search around needlessly finding, the beginning of this file and then jumping to the opposite platter, or, 2 platters down to the next one.
Right.
Now, it's a free 30-day trial. And here's the part I really shouldn't tell you, but a lot of these programs that do these 30-day trials are nothing more than a file that's being put in your user directory or in all the user directories that basically states it was installed and what date it was installed. And if you ended up removing that, if somehow that got deleted out of all of the user directories, your 30-day trial, if you reinstalled the product, it wouldn't see that it was previously installed, and your 30-day trial would start over. However, having said that, I think that if you really like the product, you should pay for it and support it. There's always ways of hacking or getting around the rules.
Right.
You feel like you're getting away with something. But if you really feel the program, how often are you going to use a tool like System Mechanic anyway? You probably only really need to use it for one good cleaning, and then you can uninstall it and run it again in 3 to 6 months.
All right.
So I will actually install that on all of my clients' computers, and then I will run all of the utilities that it wants to run. It will create a conflict with Malwarebytes after. It's funny. When System Mechanic runs, it says these are potential security problems. You say, okay, fix them, and then you run Malwarebytes. It goes, you've got 2 broken opens in your registry. You go fix them, and then run System Mechanic goes, you've got 2 potential security problems. Fix them, and then run Malwarebytes and says you got a broken open. So who's wrong and who's right? I don't know, but just make you aware that happens. So what I do is I run through a regular scan and do what it wants to do, and then I run through what's called a deep scan and let it do everything it wants to do, and then I uninstall it.
What do you
And
notice? What do you notice a speed difference when you do that on machines?
It depends on the machine. If you bring me a computer that you just bought 3 months ago, maybe not so much. Show me a computer that's been sort of ignored or just used every day without any maintenance, that's been around for a couple of years, 5 years. The longer it's been ignored, the older the computer is, the more difference you're more likely to see. But, decide for yourself. Don't take my word for it. It's completely safe. It won't break anything. Of course, that doesn't exempt you from not having a backup of everything before you start. But I'm always a fan of saying, decide for yourself. Don't say, well, Kerry said it was good, so it must be. I could say that plum juice is good. That doesn't mean that you have to like it too. Everybody's got their own tastes. So anyway, it's a safe utility. That's the important thing to emphasize, is that it's safe.
Right.
There's so much free software out on the internet, and so much of it's fake and not real.
Right.
It causes more harm than good, which is why I've created the free software link at Computer America, which 300 shows ago I came on and went through a bunch of my favorite freeware.
What's the link again?
It's at computeramerica.com. There's a button at the top of the page that says free software, and if you click on that, it's got all the latest free software that I've added. It's always constantly maintained. If there's something on there that you've had a problem with, or if there's something that you think should be on there, please let me know, because it's not just my project. It's a community project, and it's there to just let people know, look, there's a bunch of free antiviruses to pick from. There's a free optical character recognition program that uses an engine from Google, which is amazing. There's great freeware in all different types of areas, from LibreOffice to OpenOffice to, gosh, I mean, I can't really see what you're looking at there, but if you look like towards the top of the page, typically that's where the newest stuff is posted. So what's there at the top? TFC, the temp file cleaner. What's below?
We got generate a free help URL with showmewhat'swrong.com.
Show Me What's Wrong is cool. I think you guys talked about that.
I'm not sure if we did or not.
It records, let's say you want to help a user remotely, but you don't have remote access.
Yeah.
Or whatever. You could say, look, go to the showmewhat'swrong.com, and it'll record your screen for up to 5 minutes, and then it'll send me a link so I can watch it, and then I can tell you what to do over the phone.
Yes, that's.
If you have remote access, you don't need that, but it's free, and it makes it easy, even for training. If you wanted to train 10 people how to do something quick, and you didn't want to manually just do it, show it once, have all 10 people watch it.
That's great. Yeah, if whoever did bring this up, I'm sorry if I forgot. Give them proper credit. And if they didn't, then Kerry gets the credit.
Yeah, no, I know Citizen X in the chat room had made me aware of it, because I had never. And then what else? What's below that one?
You got free for gamers only, free Game Booster 2, free optical character recognition.
Game Booster 2, if you really want to horse around with your system, that'll shut down a bunch of services that you don't necessarily need. And I'm on the fence about even keeping that, because it can create a lot of problems. You start shutting down services that in theory you don't need, but in reality you've got some program that needs it.
Right.
But so far nobody sent me any angry emails that it's caused any problems. But what else? What's next?
You got free character optical character recognition software.
That's amazing. That's from using some technology from Google.
It's a paperfile.com, paperfile.net.
Yeah.
Free OCR software. It works good, huh?
It's amazing.
Really?
Oh yeah. But again, don't take my word for it. Try them out. The one thing that all these programs have in common is they are safe and will not cause harm to your computer. Okay? That's why I needed to sort of separate the good freeware from the bad freeware, the real freeware from the fake freeware, the poorly designed freeware from the very good designed freeware.
It's an extensive list. You guys got to check it out. computeramerica.com/free.htm is where it's at.
Yeah, and I just keep adding stuff as I'm made aware of it, whether I stumble on it, read about it in a magazine. I was just made aware of a new imaging program that's free, and it's called Macrium Reflect.
Why does it sound familiar? But let me punch it up.
Maximum PC Magazine did a little 2-page thing about some free software they recommend, and I'd never heard of it before. I haven't actually tried it, but I have a fond respect of Maximum PC Magazine, and if it's good enough for them, it's good enough for me.
Are they still running? They're still doing good over there?
Maximum PC? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. So yeah, Macrium Reflect is an alternative to imaging software. Also, EaseUS, the company that makes this great free partitioning software, free for home use, makes a program called To Do Backup, which is an imaging program as well that's free.
I used ESUS a lot, but it looked so peculiarly
Suspiciously like
like partition magic. It was almost hilarious.
You know what? Then that's where I play dumb and go, well, it's not really my business. That's somebody. That's where I become the customer. That's somebody else's job.
That's great.
So yeah, there's some great utilities, and I've just fallen in love with TeamViewer for remote access. I just think that is the best thing. The thing is, when I first tried TeamViewer, I wasn't that impressed with it.
Why not?
I was using it wrong. You know, that I never read the manual. I don't think I've even read the manual today. So what I would do is I'd set TeamViewer up on the computer. And I'd go to teamviewer.com, log in with my name and password. There would be the list of computers I had TeamViewer on that were available. I click it, and in my browser window, I get this scaled screen that kind of looks like crap. And where's the option to transfer files? It's not there. Where are these options that when the guy was on the show from TeamViewer, he told me you could do all this stuff, but I can't find it. Well, when you install the TeamViewer software on your computer, it's like a 2.5 meg download. It's pretty small. And you get this little TeamViewer icon in your system tray. And you create a free TeamViewer account. And at the bottom of the TeamViewer, when you bring up the TeamViewer program, there's a button that says Partner List. And when you click on that, it'll say, please sign into your TeamViewer account. So you put your name and password in, and up pops an instant messenger-like window.
Right.
That then shows you all of the computers that you've assigned to your account.
Okay.
And of course, you can add and remove just like an instant messenger program. The only difference is you put in the account number, which is like a phone number that's generated from TeamViewer for that account, and then a password, and you can tell it to save that. So all I have to do is double click on any computer in the list, and I'm instantly connected. Just that quick.
Really?
And then below that, just like an instant messenger, it tells me which computers are offline. And just like instant messenger, when a computer is turned on, a little pop-up comes up. Just like instant messenger that says Kerry signed in to AOL Instant Messenger or Yahoo.
Right.
For Skype, this pops up and says, you know, the computer 7 at the CPA just came online, just signed in. So I'm looking at this one day, and I see one of my clients. It's the middle of the afternoon, and all of their computers are offline. So I call them, and I go, you guys having computer problems over there? Well, how could you possibly know that? Well, because the TeamViewer software, none of your computers are doing. Yeah, we're having an internet problem. I just can't believe you'd know that. How do we fix it? I go, well, call your service provider. They called the service provider, and then I started seeing these computers, dunk, 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 you know, little pops online. I called them. I go, it looks like your internet's back up. They go, it is? I go, yeah, try your internet. Does it work? It does work. Thanks for letting me know.
Wow, man.
How cool is that? And it's free for personal use. And then that's when you click on the computer and access it that way through the partner list. Now there's where you have video chat, voice chat, file transfer, all of the features the guy was talking about on the show that the software had that I could never find because I was using it through the web browser. But the web browser is still handy. So let's say you're using a friend's computer and you don't want to install the TeamViewer on his computer. You just want to log in remotely to your own computer, let's say. You can go to teamviewer.com, log in, and do it through the web. Or I just realized there's a portable version of TeamViewer. So if you had that on your flash drive, you could plug that in and actually load the partner list through the portable software. So you're not leaving anything behind, but still have all the benefits of the software being installed without installing.
I see. Wow.
So like on my
I didn't know it did all that stuff.
Oh my gosh. On my TeamViewer, I'm showing 17 computers are offline. I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 21, 22, 24, 25, I got about 35 computers in my TeamViewer list.
These are all customers?
These are all customers. Now, what's great is, and I talked to the guy at TeamViewer, I go, people complain about the price. It's like $1,500 for a license. But it's a lifetime license, and you can use it on any number of computers. So you just install a free version on all the client's computers, and only on the technician's computer do you put in the license code. So I can tell my client, it costs this much for remote access. I pay the $1,500 out of my pocket, and then I can charge each client individually for the remote access. I can say, hey, it's $100 a month if you want to set up permanent remote access for me to be able to help you. Huh. Or I cannot charge them at all. But the point is you could actually make your money back. And I asked the guy at TeamViewer, I said, what if I had two of my clients split the price? Like if I said, if you pay $750 and you pay $750, we can have remote access for life. would I be violating any terms or conditions? He says, no, it's fine.
Wow. That's pretty awesome.
So now
TeamViewer.
yeah, teamviewer.com. And again, check it out for yourself. It's safe. One of the things TeamViewer does, which I find a little bit frustrating, is when I clone a computer that has TeamViewer on it and I haven't taken TeamViewer off,
Mm-hmm.
then I have two computers with the same name on TeamViewer, with the same ID. And you can never change your TeamViewer ID. It's impossible. Your TeamViewer ID is a hash based on your hardware. You can uninstall the software, use Revo, take every registry entry out, every file out, and when you reinstall it, you'll get the exact same ID for that hardware.
I see.
So what you have to do if you haven't removed the software completely before you clone the computer, is you have to use Revo to uninstall it and do an advanced uninstall to get all the TeamViewer stuff out of the registry, then reinstall it so it regenerates that hash and regenerates the ID. So the ID for that new machine will always be that. It will never, ever change.
I see.
Unless you do a significant hardware change that would, just like, how Windows does activation.
Yeah.
Based on hardware. That's how they're creating the ID.
Cool. We do talk about TeamViewer. Have never went into all those options, so that's pretty awesome. We're getting about to the hour mark, so I was going to just start reading some emails. If you want to help me answer like 2 or 3, Gary, before we end off. Okay, we got one from John. He says, Steve, wanted to first say I love the podcast and the site. It is just amazing. I've learned quite a bit. Oh, thanks, John. I'm not sure if you ever covered this before, but if you have, please point me where. But I was wondering how to make my own personal restore images on hard drives. Dell and other companies have them, and I would like to make my own. Any helps or tips would be greatly appreciated. Thank you. Anything you know of, Kerry?
Well, the 3 imaging programs, Acronis, which is a paid program, but with a paid program, you have a lot more functionality to image your entire hard drive. If you just want the image of the operating system, well, I'm getting ahead of myself. The 3 programs, paid one is Acronis, and you get what you pay for. It's well worth the money, in my opinion. Free alternative, Macrium Reflect or EaseUS to do backup. If it's Windows 7, just plug a USB drive in, and Windows 7 goes, do you want to use this as a backup? Go, yeah, and it'll make an image using Windows.
Really?
Windows is built in. Yeah, Windows will make its own image, but you don't get any options.
Right.
So again, it's what you get what you pay for. If you want an image of your operating system disk so that you can reinstall your operating system, contact the manufacturer. And for a minimal fee, typically, they will mail you the disk.
I see.
If you wait too long, if your computer's just like parts, they only hold on to parts for a certain length of time. So if you wait too long and ask for it, they might say, well, we don't have the disk for that computer anymore. Too bad, so sad. But if you make it a priority to say, go to the website of the manufacturer, like on Dell, you go to, or HP, you go to support and drivers, and then you click, how do I get an OS disk? I think it's there, and then it takes you to another link, and you.
What about Terry? Does Acronis do this? Where I'm guessing he might want to create his own image where he already has all like the Firefox and all the downloads he put on. Like,
right.
Is there? Does Acronis do that? Allow you to make an image that you could just have on a partition? Because I know they have the universal restore. Because the danger of making this quote partition with all this stuff on it is it won't boot on hardware when you change the hardware from machine to machine. Is that right?
No, that's incorrect. There's several ways. If your hard drive controller changes with Windows XP, you'll get a stop 7B error, blue screen, right after the splash. The Windows XP splash comes up, but before the desktop. And you can load the Ultimate Boot CD and go to programs, and there's a little application that change hard drive HDD controller, and it'll actually look for your hard drive controller. Now, this isn't going to work on the brand new motherboards with brand new chipsets, but it's got a huge database already in the Ultimate Boot CD, and it'll alter the registry, copy the files, and say, good luck.
So it may or may not work. So I was kind of right? Right? No, I was kind of right.
No.
No, it doesn't change from hardware to hardware? It doesn't have any effect on it?
Because, well, all we're talking about are drivers for the hard drive controller. So what Acronis offers as an add-on is the Plus Pack, which offers Universal Restore.
Okay.
Universal Restore will reset that hard drive controller, and they have their own database. So, for example, I've got a mountain of computer boxes behind me. Maybe you can't see them, but they're H55 chipset. Okay. And Acronis, when I do the Universal Restore, I'm going from taking this client's AMD system and cloning it to this Intel system. And Acronis says, I found this PC. It gives you the PCI device number. It says, I don't have a driver for this. So what I have to do is go to the motherboard manufacturer's website, download the F6 drivers, put them on a flash drive, plug the flash drive in, and then start Acronis again, pick Universal Restore, and then say, look in other places for the drivers. And it says, what other places? I point it to the flash drive, to the directory that has the drivers for that motherboard, because I'm going to AHCI mode, right? And when Acronis finishes the image, then it starts looking through its own database, can't find it, then it looks on my flash drive, finds it, and then there's no error. It says restore is complete. Unplug the flash drive, remove the Acronis boot CD, unplug the external drive. I keep the original image on, reset the computer, boots up, and starts finding all new hardware.
Gotcha.
The key is just to boot up. The key is the hard drive controller. Once Windows boots, it'll redetect network, sound card, all the motherboard chipset, devices, drivers. So if he wants to create an image of a partition, you don't have to create an image of the whole hard drive. You can select a partition and then copy that partition to another partition. But if your hard drive fails, what good is it?
Right.
So I always recommend making your images, take a full hard drive image and move it to an external hard drive. External drives are so cheap now. I've been getting these. I just picked up a Seagate 1 terabyte GoFlex drive from Newegg for $79.99, and 10% off of that, it was $72.99, something like that. No sales tax, free shipping. And I've got about 14 images on it, and there's still 300 gigs free.
Right.
14 images from 14 completely unrelated computers.
I'm with you.
That's cool.
Yeah. Drives are definitely coming down, too.
So if you just use a partition, well, that's all well and good if, you have a virus, something like that. But if the hard drive fails, how are you going to get your image back?
Right.
So something to think about.
Good.
That's why I say Acronis is so worth the money compared to the, if he wants to go the cheap route, just plug a USB drive in. And like I say, if he's got Windows 7, if it's a new computer, say, I want to use this drive for backup, and it'll say, do you want to back up individual files of the whole hard drive? You say the whole hard drive, and it makes an image.
Awesome. Well, thank you for answering that. The next one is right up your alley, Kerry. This is going full circle here. Check this out. He says, this is from Andy. He says, hey, Steve, not much time to get into detail regarding how valuable your podcast and guest interviews have been. Anyhow, found this great deal on an electric blower for high-power dust busting, and it's a Lowe's leaf blower. The links here, it's Troy-built 7.5 amp electric blower. It's $34.98, but he says it's $19.95. They might have been on sale at Lowe's. Carrie is the original. The original planted the seed for me talking about the leaf blower for episode after episode, and it was the best thing I ever did to get a leaf blower. Actually, Ken Watts did from Florida. Sent a leaf blower to my shop. Thank you, Ken. And I used it forever. And I never would have thought of using a tool like that. So we got to thank Carrie for the leaf blower thing.
Yeah, I mean, it saved me so much money in canned compressed chemical.
Big time.
Air.
Big time.
They call it canned air. It's not air in a can. It's a chemical.
Yeah.
Anyway, that chemical, when you flip the can upside down or sideways, it can discolor the plastics. And there's still a lot of people, I put videos on YouTube because people just didn't believe me that this wasn't breaking the computers or causing the fans to fail. And there will still be comments posted that you're going to ruin your fans. I've never ruined a fan.
Not one.
You can still take toothpicks and stick them down in the fan blades if you really are worried about it.
Right.
But I'm telling you, if it ruins a fan, you had a bad fan to begin with.
And also, we're not using the gas-powered ones here. This is like the...
you want to use thing into your neighbor's yard.
Yeah, seriously. You want to use about like 100 to 120 miles per hour. Nothing. I wouldn't go much higher than that.
And then people go, well, that's why I use an air compressor. And I'm like, well, air compressors have condensation that build up inside of them. If you don't have a water filter on your air compressor, you could be spraying water and moisture onto that computer system. And that's not...
I actually liked how broad the leaf blower blew the air rather than the concentrated compressor. I mean, I was a fan. It worked for me.
Yeah, I love. What I'll do is I'll take the side panel off of a tower, and I will spray around the CPU area, and then I'll immediately hit the back of the power supply, and then from the inside of the case hit the front of the power supply. So because all the dust moves to one side.
Right.
It's amazing all the different clouds of dust that come out from each direction.
Yeah, you have to find all the sweet spots.
And then I hit the back of the tower so that I'll find USB ports are just plugged up with dust. I make sure I blow through the Ethernet port, the USB ports, and just clean all that. And then sometimes I lay the case down flat and blow up between the plastic bezel and the metal case because there's like a gap there. And there's often a front air intake, and that'll be real dusty in there.
Yes.
And the whole process usually takes about 30 to 45 seconds.
It does. It's super fast.
And it forces me to take the computer outside. I was getting lazy for a while, and I was just using the canned stuff in my office.
Mm-hmm.
My wife was pretty upset. Why is it so dusty in here?
Oh, I'd take him outside. I couldn't have those
I take 'em
this
outside.
class.
I have to with the leaf. I'm not running the leaf blower in my office.
I don't know. So the guys who bought my shop, they do them. They do it in the hallway. I'm like, you guys are nuts. Have fun.
You know,
with
they've got. Wasn't maybe it was you was looking for a cordless leaf blower.
That's what Ken sent me. It was amazing.
And did you? Wouldn't that be a pain? Was it always not charged when you needed it?
No. We charged every night. It lasted the whole day, and even it lasted a couple days because I always forget to charge it. But
so I mean, if you had your choice, would you still go with a cordless?
Oh yeah, big time. Because I walk out with the desktop in one hand, cordless leaf blower in the other hand, one trip outside. Do it and come back in. It was really worked out really well.
And then a lot of people don't understand where they say, well, why not just use the can? How much does that cost? Well, if you don't fix computers for a living, that's fine. One can of air may last you 6 months, but for guys like us, we'll go through 3-4 cans in a day.
Yeah.
Especially if someone brings us something. Well, you see my YouTube videos. If you go to youtube.com/Kerry Holzman, I have a couple there that you look at the inside of these computers and your jaw will just drop.
We got to check that out.
Yeah.
Let me I'll read the last part of his email, and then we're going to end off. And this is another thing I think you talked about too, Kerry, because we had some people bringing up the write-protected thumb drives, which is what I liked to use in my shop. And Andy says, I've also found the Kangaroo, that's Kanguru, or URU, brand of write-protected thumb drives to be hugely useful in providing tech support. They also have the biometric USB drives and full military-grade data encryption available. Didn't you send an email, Kerry? I'm sure it's in the list if you did that we didn't get to yet. About these drives?
When he says military spec and he says biometric, what he's saying is cha-ching. Their drives are often very expensive. Now, I don't know why you just wouldn't use a CD or a DVD personally. I don't know why you guys would do this. I'm just not on board with it. But whether I agree or not, I sent you a list of write-protectable flash drives that CNET has like 74 of them listed from different manufacturers that all have write protect switches from different manufacturers, starting as low as like $10 or $11 at some of these websites. So, so you guys can look at that. I don't know how old that list is, but I did click on many of the links. The drives were still available and very cheap. I still say, why don't you just use a DVD?
I think the reason is because you have to copy a new one every time you want to add programs to it.
Okay, then why don't you just if all you're going to use your flash drive for is removing viruses, why not make it a routine to always clean the flash drive when you get back to the office? Just plug it in, format it, and put the file back on it. Unless you think that your antivirus isn't going to catch the virus that's on it, you're going to infect your machine.
I don't know. It's easy to flip a switch. Actually, you only have to flip the switch when you're adding programs to it.
Yeah, except when you read the reviews of some of these where they go, well, the switch is kind of cheap and the switch broke on 3 of them. Yeah, that's a problem you wouldn't have. I actually had a customer say, oh, thanks for fixing my computer. And while I'm here, and he had the lanyard on with the flash. Could you, I'm trying to write to my flash drive and it just won't, it says it won't write. Can you take a look at it for me? And I said, we don't even need to plug this in. I go, why? I go, you see this little switch on the side? Oh, I feel so dumb. I said, look, I love these kind of problems because they make me feel smart. I like easy problems. Don't feel, because they feel bad. People always feel bad when you, like, customer called me the other day, says the wireless quit working on my lap. I said, look, I understand this happens to people all the time. I set wireless up for you, and then it's just a matter of time before you call me and say the wireless doesn't work anymore. There's a switch somewhere on your laptop that turns your wireless off. And I should have told you this when I was there, and I guess I forgot.
Oh, man.
And it may be a switch on the side. It may be a function F2 or one of the F buttons. It's always different. I can't tell you where it is, but I can tell you this. If you don't see it, don't think to yourself, my laptop must not have come with one. Every laptop that has built-in wireless has an ability to turn that wireless off. It saves the battery life, and it makes the laptop more secure when you travel with it and don't need it. You don't need the wireless part.
Yeah.
So then I called him back the next day and said, I hadn't heard back from you. Did you have time to look? He goes, yeah, I feel so dumb. Don't feel dumb. No, it's wonderful. I love those kind of questions.
Right.
I was able to help you. I'm glad it was simple. Keep the complicated, difficult, frustrating problems to yourself.
The best part is when these new technicians find out that that's the problem that's going to fix the computer for them. I mean, these newbies, when they come in, they're still discovering that switch as a troubleshooting point. So.
Yeah, I actually had a client made me drive over and insisted he did not have the switch. I described it to him. I told him it's there. I drove for half an hour in the car, walked into his place. Right there below the keyboard was a switch. It said wireless on or off, flipped it. And then the guy, you see, like if he was a dog, his ears would have gone down. And
It happens.
I was so upset, and then turn around, get back in the car, and drive another half an hour back home.
I would be too. Hey, Carrie, thanks a lot for being on the show. I mean, it's been great, and I enjoyed it. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, it was a good time. I'll have to come back again. I hope won't make it 300 shows between visits.
No, definitely. Well,
keep up the work here. I've been really enjoying listening to the shows. I'm burning them to CDs and listening to my car, listening to them in my car when I drive to my clients. It certainly beats listening to the stuff they're playing on the radio.
Oh,
and
thanks.
And the quality of the guests have all been excellent. I've enjoyed hearing from all the guests, and I'm learning, a lot of the things they're talking about, stuff I never heard of, and I'm always looking forward to learning something new. And there's only a handful of podcasts that I listen to, and so take that as a compliment.
I do. Thanks for
that select group.
I do, and hey, any guys who have been on the show or listening and have contributed, take that as a compliment to you guys too, because you bring
Absolutely.
the goods.
Yep.
Check out Computer America, guys, if you haven't yet. That's Carrie's site, computeramerica.com. And well, that's going to be it for Podnutz Daily for today. Stay tuned for Podnutz Pro. We're going to be starting in about 10 minutes, and see you next time.